my final point tonight. The United Nations Climate Change Conference is happening in Paris over the next 2 weeks. And I gotta tell you, I am not excited about it. First of all, climate change criers change their tune every 2 seconds. This deal that's supposedly being hammered out before the end of 2015 was initiated all the way back in 2011. In the climate change community, 4 years is practically an era. We know they update their data whenever it suits their agenda. I have zero expectations for this conference. In fact, I can think of a million issues I'd rather see 40,000 people in 195 countries meet to discuss than how governments around the world are making a pinky promise to butt into their citizens' lives in the name of what some of us call weather. A couple of conferences I'd rather see. Number one, I'd rather see an international coalition, a true meeting of the minds, engage in a thoughtful, intellectual, open discussion about the effect free markets have on world poverty. Capitalism, true unencumbered capitalism, has done more as an economic system to lift impoverished people out of poverty than any other system of economics in the history of the world. Yet countries and people around the world won't talk about that. Number two, I'd rather see an international coalition of scientists, doctors, ethicists, religious leaders, and individuals from around the world examine thoroughly and without bias the time at which human life begins. There are at least 42 million abortions performed around the world every year. We owe it to these boys and girls, the 42 million men and women who never got to be, to take advantage of every resource at our disposal to protect life in all its forms. Yet countries and people around the world won't talk about that. Number three, I'd rather see an international coalition of strong, rational, moral, military leaders design a strategy to eliminate the threat of radical Islamic terrorism from around the world. Those of us with a common enemy have an advantage and a responsibility to use our force against evil, to eradicate the death and destruction sought by these terrorists, to swiftly and effectively, with short-term gain and long-term security, prevent the regrowth of terrorism that follows incomplete campaigns. Yet countries and people around the world won't talk about that. Instead, we get to see a conference on weather. A conference to argue over issues that have been discussed at these same conferences for the past 18 years. A conference estimated to cost over $1 billion, not to mention the cost and pollution. What a colossal waste of time. And that is my final point. Thanks for tuning in tonight for Tipping Point. I hope you'll join us again tomorrow. And in the meantime, keep up the conversation with me on Twitter at @Liz_Wheeler and have a great night.